Hello, I'm Mark Griffiths, and welcome to Dragonheart. Now, Chay is the host for Dragonheart today, and yet here I am, about as welcome as Ben Tozer in Sheffield United's changing room before their first semi-final playoff at the end of this season. See what I did there? Well, the reason for that's quite simple. I don't want to bore you with the details. I know that you don't have the same audio technical knowledge that I do, or the broadcast experience. But to put it in layman's terms, I forgot to press the button when we were recording the intro, so it doesn't exist. So here I am doing an emergency introduction. But anyway, today we'll talk about the game that we enjoyed at the weekend, and boy did we enjoy it, eventually, against Aldershot. We will talk about the women's team, who had a massive win on Sunday, and a really massive game coming up next Sunday. And we'll also be speaking to Mark Woodley and Jim Nelson, who travelled over from Iowa to watch the Scunthorpe game. Two great guys. Now, Mark is a sports anchor in Iowa on the local TV channel, and yeah, he came over to do a report, but also because he wanted to sample what he'd been loving so much on Welcome to Wrexham. And Jim was there to help him make a report, and we grabbed them at half-time in the Scunthorpe match to have a chat with them. So we'll talk, I think, about the women's team first, because it's the sharp end of the season for them. So have a little listen. This is Dragonheart.
I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, Mark was fortunate enough to watch the women's game against a team that I really can't pronounce the name, unfortunately. Mark, you have a go at it.
Ovelin Heli. Oh, yeah, you see, whereas my Welsh-speaking credentials are bang on, as you could all hear. And, yeah, having gone to see them, it was a, cracking performance, because, the visiting team that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the visitors.
those guys, Guy S's, sorry, they were... They came third last year in the league. Wrexham came second in, so a decent team. They have lost players since then, but Wrexham looked terrific. And as well, I mean, Rosie Hughes up front is ludicrously good. She scored 4 goals. They won 8-1. But all round the team, it was excellent. And it must be said, gallingly, Wrexham lost 3 players to injuries, and still were able to keep going and keep the standards going. In fact, the quality from the bench was really good. Got 2 goals from the bench and a couple of assists, and it was good to see. Especially because they've got a massive game coming up on Sunday, and that win takes us back top of the table. You're the very much at the end of the league season now, and there's a huge game coming up.
Well, who's that game against, Mark, and why is it so significant then?
Well, it's Connah's Nomads, and they and us are miles ahead at the top of the table. There's 1 promotion place to play for.
Sounds like a similar story.
So yeah, exactly. Strangely familiar, isn't it? Yeah. They don't have Macaulay Langstaff playing for them, but nonetheless,
probably have some very good players. Because there's a lot of money going around in Connah's Quay at the moment as well, isn't there?
So it's really interesting, and it's interesting, I think, in the broader context of course, last week it was announced that the women's team will apply to get promoted into the top division, and therefore will be applying. If they go up they will go semi-professional, which is a huge step.
Wow.
And a necessary step and a fantastic step, because Rob and Ryan have openly said their intention is for the Wrexham women's team to be the best in Wales. And, well, this is a big, big step up in that direction, isn't it?
Well, can you paint a picture for me for a second then? Say, pretend I'm the layman, because I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day, and she's like, why is the women's team not professional, or why is it not on the same terms as the men's team now? You know, I know there's obvious reasons for this, but from going for an amateur team like we have done, restarting, paint that picture of the women's team now, what it's like, the timeline.
Well, I think the simple but crucial answer is that women's football hasn't caught up with men's football yet, and that's not meant as a negative statement. Women's football's had a lot of, quite frankly, ludicrous obstacles put in its place during its history, and you don't have to dig very far to learn about that, getting banned completely in the 1920s because, having offers entertainment during the First World War, then the men's football authorities are scared of it and think, we can't have this distracting us. When the famous team, the Dick Kerr women that were going along, were getting crowds, 5-figure crowds at the racecourse when they toured, had 50,000 at Everton, and so the men's game saw them as a threat rather than something fantastic. And that is something that the women's game is still trying to make up. Yeah. The progress, I'd say, in the last 10, 15 years is amazing in terms of the way that, in general, people see the women's game. Because, like I said, 10, 15 years ago, I would argue that people were terribly prejudiced against women's football, and you'd hear some right rubbish being said about it. You don't hear that much now, thankfully, at least certainly not from people who have any sense. And I know, we're Welsh, but the England's women's team winning the European Championship and hosting it last summer, I think, has given it an enormous leg up to push the women's game's profile as high as it is in the countries that currently dominate women's football. The USA, for example, it's taken very seriously. In Europe as well. I mean, Spain has an image as a sort of macho culture, but actually Spanish football fans embrace the women's game, and they get terrific crowds for women's league matches. Now, painting that picture, because like I said, I'm sorry to waffle on, that sort of background really, but if you're saying about painting the picture for Wrexham, it's that Welsh football is also on that upward curve, but from a much, much lower base. If you look at the Welsh team, most of them play for English teams. The Welsh national side, the actual Welsh league structure. Well, look at the men's league of Wales, that formed very late. It's a fairly new phenomenon. Women's club football is still bedding itself in, and that frankly makes it very exciting because there's no hierarchy, I would say, established. Obviously, the big South Walian clubs dominate, and the top level is mostly South Walian. It's only 8 teams. Mostly South Walian. Again, the fact there's only 8 teams tells you something about the way it's a new sport really in development, and the fact that we get heavy wins against teams in our league shows that there's a long way to go in building up a core of strong clubs, if you will, but we can play a massive leading role in this because if we put the money into it and we take it seriously and we achieve Robin Ryan's ambition of being the best team in Wales, we can really drive women's football across the country forwards. So that's a fantastic thought.
So we could, if we invest the right amount of money, could be the number 1 team in Wales from a women's level. That would be huge, wouldn't it?
That would be absolutely enormous.
And is there a possibility of European football with that as well?
So at the moment, the Women's Champions League, how many places you get? Well, the same as the men's, but with a slightly different structure. The number of European places you get is based on the coefficient numbers the country has. So Wales's league is low down in the European pecking order. So we get 1 team in the qualifying rounds of the Champions League. The qualifying rounds, I find this quite intriguing, although I'm purely speculating. I'm not trying to say anything else, and we're a long way from it. Is different from the men's one. They have a group of 4, and they play it all at one venue. So I was looking back, was it last season, I think, the Swansea won the league, and they were playing CSKA Moscow and somebody else, and so in, I think, I wish I remember the details, I think in Cyprus or somewhere like that.
Oh, wow.
I just quite like the idea that if we manage to get that far, and like I say, it's a long way off, I'm not trying to say, oh yeah, we'll win the league next year when we go up, but if we did manage to get into that position, we, maybe we could offer to host the qualifying tournament and have European football back at the racecourse, even if we don't get through to the competition proper. Wow. Wouldn't that be an amazing experience?
It would be huge for the town, wouldn't it, to have European football back at the racecourse, especially with that new cop being built in the future. There's some, like the men's team then, the ceiling's so high, isn't it? It's really nice to see that as well, isn't it? Considering am I right? Not so long ago, we didn't really have a women's team that was embraced as much as it is now.
Yeah, it's sort of been, I don't want to say rebadged, that sounds terribly 2019, doesn't it? But it's sort of been reformed to be a proper integral part of the club. So, strictly speaking, last season was their first season. Now, obviously, there's a lot of common people who run through, threads that run through, and the obvious one is Gemma Owen, who's now been appointed as a sort of head of female football, because it's been put on more of a level footing with the men's in terms of Wrexham's organisation, and so she'll be sorting out the application. But I mean, she's been phenomenal in Wrexham for women's football, not just in terms of bringing through those other teams that have become this, but also in terms of, I mean, we both know because we've worked at schools in Wrexham. Yeah. She's there doing coaching sessions for the kids all the time. She organises that side of things too. And, so I mean, she's done so much for football, women's football in this area. And I think it's one of the real things that get right to the heart of why this takeover is such a good thing. Yeah. That this is a brilliant example of Rob and Ryan enabling her to fly with her imagination, just like they did with Kerry Evans. You're restricted by budgets. Well, we're going to give you a different kind of budget, dream, and we'll try and make it happen. And I think that's just magnificent reward for the sort of people who do brilliant work for the club and for the community. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is fantastic, and it's great for, this takeover's been great for all the young, all kids now as well. Yeah. The men, the boys and the girls can now have figures who they look up to, and I think as neither of us are women, but I think as young girls, you'll always be looking up, when we were younger, to the men's team, and isn't it great that now people have the opportunity to go watch women's football as well? And I'd like you to tell them where you can find to watch games. If you want to go watch a game, where do you go?
Well, you touched on something I was going to say as well. So the home games are played in Rose. So at Rose Aylward's ground, which is easy enough to find, the War Memorial in Johnstown. Yeah. Turn right, and it's something like Chapel Street, second turn on your right, and then immediately turn left. And there it is. Every time I've been, it's been easy to park. There's only street parking, but there's always been room. And as you were talking actually off air, there's the Ponky, the Banks is right behind it. So if you take a kid and they get a bit bored or wherever, they could go in the park if they want to for a little bit. I'll tell you something that I really enjoyed when I've been there is seeing the number of young girls who go to the matches, who are doing exactly what you just said, who are seeing people like Rosie Hughes, like Amber Lightfoot, like Kim Dutton, and are looking at them and are seeing what they could be in 10 years. I know some of them, I was actually chatting to some of them at the game on Sunday. One of them I know is, plays for the younger Wrexham teams as well, and desperately would love to play on the racecourse and play for Wrexham. And it's exactly that sort of thing, that they are aspirational. And when you see Rosie Hughes running through a defence, because it's not just that she scores a lot of goals. She's a sort of player who, well, let me give you an example. Yesterday, in the second half, she was flagged offside. There are elements of Mullin about Rosie Hughes and elements of Hughes about Mullin. Right? Yeah. She was flagged offside. I was dead level. I was about 25 yards out and high up because there's a bank on the side of the pitch, which gives you a great view. And she was onside. She timed it right. But the linesman, fair play. He's got to make a call, put his flag up, got it wrong. She went nuts and got booked, like Paul Mullin was. And then clearly looked really annoyed. So the next time the ball's in play anywhere near her, she tackled a player, a bit of anger in the tackle, and then sprinted down the left-hand side. There was no room. She was bang on the touchline. Got past two more players, hits the goal line. All through this run, the ball is about to go out, and somehow she's keeping it. She's got good feet. And runs down the goal line, shifts it inside a tiny bit. There's no support because she's just been so fast. And she tries from a sort of 6 yards outside the near post with no goal to aim at to dink the keeper.
Wow.
Boinks it really high over the keeper and it just drops the wrong side of the far post. It was an absolutely impossible angle. And it's just, the girls watching the side of the pitch, she's right. I know it sounds silly, it's visceral. She's right there, like a yard away from them, doing this stupid, incredible, magical thing. And they're all there, you can see them all getting excited, and if that got in, frankly, it would have been better than any goal I've seen the men's team score this season, and that's saying something.
Yeah, that
is saying something. And secondly, there's something nice about grassroots football, which is what this is.
Yeah.
That you can afterwards the players, just like in a school game or a sort of like park game, you're all getting together. They were having their photos taken with the mascots, the team's mascots coming out. The kids could wait and say hello to them on the pitch, and everyone's very friendly. And it's just that nice atmosphere. It's more accessible. Although the men's team are perfectly nice blokes and will do sort of selfies before and after, but it's still at a stadium. You're still apart from it, aren't you?
And it's a professional game as well. It's a bit more of a superstardom thing going on with the... But as I say, I think everyone should try and... I feel guilty. I've not been down... I was lucky enough to do the camera work for the game that was at the racecourse, which was an absolute privilege and an honour to be a part of. But for me, I think everyone should try their best to try and get down and watch it. These women who are playing now will be pioneers.
Yeah.
Will be looked back at as legends in years to come, like the men's team will be now if we achieve what we want. But this women's team are even more pioneers, because hopefully one day we'll be seeing regular women's football at the racecourse too.
Exactly. Colin Henrys was there, the club's press officer and chief of media stuff. There's an official title that I've just made up. And he's at all the women's games reporting. And I was talking to him and I was saying, next season, if they go up, what happens? What will the standards be like? As he's been watching the team, will it be a case of, it's good that we built this up, but now we're going to have to bring in new players for the new challenge? And he felt no. He thought obviously there have to be a couple of experienced signings, but he said no. He thinks that the current squad is, comparing them to what he's seen, because we've been very competitive in the women's cups, the Welsh Cups, against the top division teams. He feels, we would hit the ground running and be, he wasn't saying win it, but wouldn't have a problem with adapting to that higher level. There's some good players. Like Amber Lightfoot on the wing. Assist for the, what would have been, fifth goal, can't remember. Hughes' hat-trick. Just beautiful cross on the run from the left-hand side, just asking to be headed in. To a player who has scored 50 goals in 19 games. So she headed it in. Kim Dutton is a sort of tidy midfield captain who just does everything neatly. Just pops up in the right spots all the time. Isn't flamboyant, but just reads the game and controls the game. Katie Sharp at the back, who started off when it was just fun footy sessions and has now come through to the point of, being the experienced player in the back, in a very young back four. That is pushing to get into the top level when there's European competition, which I think is a wonderful story. And there's so many more players that I shouldn't really have started doing that, because there's so many other players who did so well and who are very, very good. But I would say as well, there's one other element that's to be proud of, and which fits in beautifully with the ethos that Rob and Ryan bought into when they bought the club, is that the game's in Ross. Now, don't get me wrong, it'd be wonderful one day to be able to have them at the racecourse regularly, obviously. But to have it in one of the towns around Wrexham takes the football club out into the community.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really good thing. It's not just a case of come to the racecourse. Wrexham is the club of the city and of the county. And we go out and we try to reach out to people. It was an absolute treat. I feel guilty of not being to more games.
Yeah. I feel really guilty. I feel really guilty, and I want to, as I said, what's really appealing to me is that I can take the kids. It's free, isn't it?
Yeah, free.
When it's at home.
Absolutely.
Which, if you don't want to stay there for the whole time, you've not lost any money.
That's right.
I've got my two kids. There's a park around the corner. I can enjoy the football. My lads can enjoy the football if they can't take it. But if they get a bit bored, they can go run off somewhere else. It's such an accessible way to enjoy football and to introduce young kids into football and get them to enjoy it. Get yourself down, guys. Yeah. Enjoy it, and it's a huge game next week at Connah's Quay, Mark. So
enormous game that.
So that'll be well worth getting down. Let's just try and let's get a whole army of Wrexham fans down to that to make some noise. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that be absolutely superb? Wow.
Well, speaking of good travelling armies. After this, we're going to talk about the Aldershot game.
I'm Luke Young, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, Aldershot, yet another one, a game added to the list of crazy games that we've been a part of since this takeover, Mark.
It's almost as crazy as those mosquitoes that just in the studio that were having the slack. Wasn't it awful? Oh man!
But
I was hitting them all off the back of Chay's neck, and the last one was a mosquito.
Mark, where do we start with this game? In other seasons, in other seasons,
yeah.
This would have been one of those mental games that it would happen once every few years.
Yeah.
It just seems normal now as a Wrexham fan to have these 3-4s, these 6-5s, these mental games. It just seems normal now, which it should. It doesn't to me, but it shouldn't. I don't know where. The first half. Let's start with the first half, where I'd say we were quite in control for the most part.
I thought we looked excellent in the first half. Trouble is, we kept letting goals at inopportune times.
Yeah.
And I think, to be fair, all the injuries we had at the back and the reshuffles, Mendy and O'Connell were off in this game as well. They do make a difference. But, we won that game 3 times.
Yeah.
At 2-0, that game looked awful. We were so good with the ball.
Yeah.
And I must be honest, I've heard a lot of very varied comments on how good Aldershot were. I've heard a lot of people saying they were poor. I didn't think so. No. I thought they were very gutsy and they kept coming at us. And in the Malithor, they had a player who can clearly cause problems for a defence.
Well, I think Football League clubs will be looking at him because he looks a decent player, to be fair.
He played well at our place as well, I thought.
Yeah.
But despite that, we took control and caused them massive problems. And at 2-0, I genuinely thought, this is like last season, this is another 5-0 here. We're going to absolutely wipe the floor with them. But they kept coming back. So 2-1, you're thinking, come on, we should just close this out now. At 3-1, I'm thinking, okay, we're back into wipe the floor territory. And in fair play, they get another goal back.
Yeah.
And then the second half wasn't the same, I didn't think. We didn't impose ourselves, although it should be said we made a hell of a lot of good chances. We could easily put the game to bed before they got the last-minute equaliser. So it was pleasing in that sense that we did what I would expect us to be able to do, hit teams hard on the break and effectively when they're coming at us, because we got such quality up front and players like Lee in midfield. But yeah, they got the equaliser. But I don't feel quite as panicky when that happens as I have in the past, because you always know we got an injury and goal. Don't you?
Yeah, and especially when Sam Dalby comes on the pitch.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the goals we've conceded at that game. So the first goal, you can't really do much about that. It was a good, well-worked goal by Aldershot, wasn't it?
It was well worked, mate. I think there were a couple of times when we could have done better stopping crosses coming in from that side of the pitch. There was an opportunity just before then when Mendy. I like Mendy. I'm not telling him how to try, but rather left his leg out to try and just dangled the leg, and it was easy to get the cross in. Yeah. And then the same happened with O'Connell, another player who I think is excellent. But I thought he could have done more. You look at how Ford does it. I think Ford's very good at stopping crosses coming in. He gets close to people. He stops them having the scope to deliver. I think he's really, really good at that. We didn't do that. And then the defence, and I understand there's more. The defence dropped off more defending the 6-yard box. I understand that. There's an element of chaos when players get around the back of your defence and you're almost just trying to take up positions more than watching players just to try and, block a 6-yard box off. But it meant there were 2 players running in late, attacking the box, and our midfielders were too deep and hadn't picked them up. Yeah. So I thought it was avoidable, but the thing is that they're able to get around the back and get that ball in. Yeah. Which is always a danger when you play wing backs, isn't it? Yeah. There's always that gap between the centre back on the side and that wing back, because especially a wee player, because we really are pushing the wing backs. They are our attacking width. So. Yeah, they're
like wingers at times, aren't they? Our wing backs, which is dangerous, isn't it? But I suppose you've got that breathing room at this level where we've got that much quality. We can even throw our centre. We've seen at times Hayden going up and doing it, and even Tozer goes up from time to time. Playing as like an attacking overlapping sort of centre half, which you can do at this level. But
I think that's crucial what you just said there. You can do at this level. because
Yeah.
I found it really interesting. I felt when we got promoted in 2003 that Dennis Smith deliberately looked at the quality of League Two and thought, we got firepower. If we really get on the front foot, we will win a lot of games.
Yeah.
Because his wing backs then, because in those days I would argue that 5 at the back was more how people played than 3 at the back, if you will.
Yeah.
But we were very much 3 at the back. Our wing backs, Carlos Edwards and Paul Edwards, were
very attacking,
players.
weren't they?
They were wide midfielders or wingers, weren't they? Not
That
wing
team was
backs.
quite ahead of its time in some regard,
In
weren't
many
they?
ways, yeah, because Lawrence was comfortable carrying the ball forwards when he was playing on the left side of it as well. Pejic looked to, he wasn't as good with the ball on his feet, but he did look to, and I thought did a sensible job doing that as well. And we had Dan Bennett, who was very good with the ball at his feet for a centre-back in those days. And, so, I mean, we had, in some ways, we were a bit ahead of our time, but certainly Edwards and Edwards weren't taking up the advanced positions that our wing-backs do now as early, but what they would do is Carlos had the pace to burn past people from deeper positions and get into those stacking spots. And Paul Edwards was dribbler and quick, so he would dribble down the flanks. So their starting points were deeper, but they were very attack-minded. I would argue that, if you want an illustration of how it's changed, it's partly what you said. Centre-backs genuinely looking to link up play in the opposing half and be attacking threats and create overloads. And also the fact that, look at that last chance that we had, right at the end of the first half. Mendy, when he lobbed the keeper and just missed. A great effort, but that's a restart. He's the highest player up the pitch.
Yeah.
That says a lot. You wouldn't find Carlos or Paul Edwards in those positions. They would be deeper, linking up in midfield and attacking from there, whereas you throw Mendy up the line and he actually goes ahead of the strikers sometimes to give that attacking width.
That's how football's evolved, isn't it? Yeah, it's not as Route 1. There's a lot more passing now, isn't there? Like back in the early 2000s, it was a lot more hoof over the top, wasn't it? Where you can't really have really attacking wing backs like you can now.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone seems to play out from the back this day and age.
But of course, the converse with both those teams is neither of them were clean sheet machines.
Yeah.
And although we've actually still got the second best defence in the league this season, we are struggling to keep clean sheets.
This is what I want to talk about, really. How do we... I think it's down to having Hayden out, personally. I think I looked at that game against Aldershot and I think we wouldn't have... And even... No, so let me... Sorry. I look at that game against Aldershot and I think we look weaker going forward from throw-ins and corners without Hayden. Quite drastically as well, isn't it? And defensively, we do look a lot weaker from set pieces at this moment in time, don't we?
Yeah.
We are missing Hayden, and I think that we have chopped and changed this back three a lot at the moment. We haven't got anything sort of stable at this moment in time. Who would you pick for your back three at this moment in time?
Well, whoever's available. That's the honest answer. That's the problem for Marcus, isn't it? I mean, you're quite right. Hayden's athleticism is massive.
Yeah.
I do feel, because you're being very positive, there is the danger of getting exposed naturally, because you commit players into attacking positions and try to overload in the opposing half. Well, if the other side get good possession back, they can hit you. And I think that's a risk Dennis Smith took with his team, and Phil Parsons taking it happily, because it enables us to have goal power and overwhelm teams.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit of a risk, and a player like Hayden, his pace is a very useful weapon when you are overcommitting.
Yeah.
Cleworth's pretty quick too, as well, to be fair.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
But their pace is useful, because you're almost asking the centre-backs, not just as a unit, but as individuals, to maybe go that little bit above. There's a snuff problems out. Something Tozer's very good at. He's not the quickest, but he is good. When he gets exposed one-to-one, he's usually good at siphoning players off to the flank, slowing them down, using the touchline as an extra defender, if you will. I know it's not quite...
He's an intelligent centre-half, isn't he? He knows...
And then he'll hold them up until supporters come back.
Yeah.
And he's very good at that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it does help having someone like Hayden who's really fast alongside him, doesn't it, naturally? Yeah. So who would I pick at centre-back now? How injured is O'Connell is my first question. Mm-hmm. I guess you've got Tunnicliffe, you've got Tozer, and you've got Cleworth. And then the only other fit centre-back, if O'Connell is not okay
Is Lennon.
who I rate enormously.
Yeah.
But obviously, has probably not got 90 minutes in him at the moment and is still coming back from a very serious injury.
Yeah, we are just missing Hayden. I do really think we are missing Hayden.
Yeah.
And when we have fully fit centre-backs, Phil Parkinson has a really tough task to pick them. And I didn't really want to address this, but I think there's a certain player getting a lot of criticism this last few weeks and this season, really. And I think a lot of the time has been unfair. And I think Wrexham fans seem to have a go at the goalkeeper a lot. I think Mark Howard's getting a lot of criticism at the moment. I've seen online a lot of people criticising the third goal, which I thought they'd criticise the second goal a little bit more.
The second goal is the one you can look at, I think.
Yeah.
But I've heard a lot of people saying he should have saved 2 of the goals. I can't agree with that, to be honest. The third one, I mean, it's a free header by 8 yards out. So initially, I'm saying there's been a breakdown in the defence to allow that, which is not Howard's fault. The cross has come from deep. So, the old basics, isn't it? A cross from deep should be easier to defend than a cross from the touchline. And yet we've allowed the sides one man up front to get a free header. So I think the defence has to look at itself, including Howard in terms of organisation, but the defenders haven't picked up the main man in the box. And then the header has taken a deflection right in front of Howard. Now, I think people are feeling, is he slow to get down? Could he have got across quicker to it? I mean, maybe, but the truth of the matter is, it is a deflection which has shifted the ball 90 degrees away from the direction he was heading.
Yeah.
And I'm very reluctant to blame him for that. I can see how he could have done better with the second. Yeah. I'm going to say it like that rather than he made a mistake. Insofar as that angle's tight for Hutchinson and is getting tighter every inch the ball moves towards the goal line. And I think Howard was quite tight in his near post and had it covered anyway. But whether he was anticipating the shot or not, he moved over to his overcompensated at his near post and just left a tiny gap, which Hutchinson hit. I don't say deliberately, but the natural thing to try and do in that situation. Well, I suppose maybe not. I was going to say natural thing is hit across the keeper. Actually, if you've got an impossible angle, maybe just go for power at the near post. And so Howard's following that and is unlucky that Hutchinson, I think I'm not knocking him. I think he's a good striker, but he's just, come on, he knows he's probably not scoring from there and he's taking a swing at it. And just let's see where it goes. And Howard's just leaned out of the way, it looks like he's leaning out of the way of it. You see so many goalies these days. I think it's a change in technique over the last 5, 6, 7 years. You see so many goalies these days who will gamble in one-on-one situations, and people don't tend to complain because it's not at a tight angle.
Yeah.
You could argue, don't gamble when it's a tight angle because he's going to have to find a phenomenal finish to beat you if you just stand up. I accept that totally. But having said that, he is essentially doing what a lot of goalkeepers do now. Goalkeeping has changed a lot from when I was a failed goalkeeper.
Yeah.
To, the sort of handball, Peter Schmeichel, big arms,
diving,
legs out
starfish.
And starfish. Yeah. And players often looking to read and anticipate one-on-one finishes. Whereas it used to be, I was with Kevin Russell, was always the one I used to love. He scored so many goals because he was too quick. When his first spell for Wrexham, and when he was a young striker and really quick, he'd be so quick breaking through and getting one-on-one. I don't think I've ever seen a striker as good at one-on-ones, because in those days, goalkeepers would just try to stand up. And the less good ones, i.e. the 4th division ones that Russell was playing against, couldn't stand up that long. He'd be running at them, he might do a little fake or something, they'd go down. And then bang, he scored so many goals by going one-on-one and just blasting it right down the middle, because the keeper's going to go down. He's not going to stand up. Techniques have changed, but that was a failing of the goalkeeper. This is now keepers do generally go down early in order to anticipate, and Howard's not out of step in doing that.
I'm feeling a lot of deja vu at the moment with Mark Howard at the moment with the 98-point season we had Jocelyn Maybe and Chris Maxwell.
Yeah.
Where we have an excellent goalkeeper on the bench that a lot of fans seem to love, that we are overanalyzing everything Mark Howard's doing. Yeah. And I think it's unfair at times. I do think it's unfair. But it must be hard to be in Mark Howard's position when you've got such a fan favourite on the bench and everyone's going to be... And this is what I really want to say to all the fans. Please don't get on Howard's back, because it's the worst position in the world when the fans are on your back.
I've seen goalkeepers really get broken by fans at Wrexham and
Yeah,
other places.
John Ruddy, when he was on loan with us, he had a couple of stinker games, didn't he? And the fans really getting on his back, and look what career he's had.
Yeah, absolutely. The fans were very harsh on Mark Cartwright, I thought, who was a good keeper. And they really got at him a bit, and Stuart Parker as well. I remember in the 80s, people sort of like having a go at him when he had a bad run.
Christian Dibble.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great example, because when Dibble's been a terrific servant for us.
Yeah.
And yet, some people generally were, unpleasant about him.
Jocelyn Miabi as well, even though I know Jocelyn Miabi was a bit of a he was a character, let's say, wasn't he? But he was an excellent goalkeeper at the same time. So I think we need to stay positive as possible when it comes to Mark Atwood, personally.
100%. He's a good keeper. He's made a lot of good saves.
Yeah.
The game at Notts County, I know we lost 1-0, but they could have scored 4 or 5. But Howard was phenomenal in that match. Like I say, he's very quick off his line. He made one really good save coming off his line so quickly. He made it look easy, and everyone ignores it. But a guy was going to run through. But Howard was so quick off his line, bang, got there comfortably before him. I didn't even put it in the highlights because it didn't look exciting, but it was a good piece of goalkeeping. There's more to goalkeeping than just shot stopping, although I admit if you can't shot stop, it can be an issue, something that I found to be cost, obviously.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, I want to address that situation, because I think it's a very tough position to play, and I think Wrexham fans are notoriously tough on goalkeepers as well.
We can like them too, though. I think the thing with Maxwell Miabi is also that it got a bit politicised, because the decision to leave Maxwell out wasn't based on football. It was based on an interview he gave, which I feel was a bit misinterpreted. And then he was sort of punished by being left out of the team. Miabi made some mistakes in those games, but was kept in.
Yeah.
I think as a sort of punishment to Maxwell, and that politicised it, and fans split between the two keepers. And I was on, not that I was making public pronouncements about it, or certainly not angry ones, but I was very much Team Maxwell, because I think he's the best keeper we've had for a very, very long time. Outstanding goalkeeper.
But you could also argue maybe he was the second best as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say Maxwell, in National League years, personally, I think probably Maxwell's the best keeper we've had.
Yeah.
I think Miabi is in that second rank, very close behind him, at the likes of Rob Lainton.
Yeah.
We've had some very good keepers.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I think Miabi was a good goalkeeper. He's very unorthodox. Didn't give the same sense of certainty that Maxwell gave, but also could his abilities to come out for everything could really help you.
I always said Miabi's physical attributes with Maxwell's technique and timing would have been a Premier League goalkeeper. Absolutely,
yeah. I think that's a very fair comment. Miabi's instinctive. And then again, I think, as we've had on the past on Dragonheart, when we interviewed Joss, the late games he had where he made bad mistakes, he was basically playing on one leg. His Achilles had gone. So, I think a lot of people remember that and think, oh, look at where he went. To be fair, he should not have been playing then. He was badly injured.
Yeah.
But he went on there because he wanted to do it for the team.
I remember one game where he was literally hopping on one leg for the whole game. So
that Gateshead game, and Andy Bishop scored a hat-trick on my birthday. What a nice man. I remember he let in a goal like first couple of minutes where the player just shot straight at him and he just sort of fell over out of the way of the ball. His leg just gave way. And at the time, they hadn't really made it public. And it was like, what the hell is wrong with him? I mean, it's shocking. Yeah. But now, of course, you realise he's playing on one leg. Poor bloke.
Yeah.
And a bouncy keeper like him, he can't bluff it.
He relied on his physical attributes, didn't he, to make himself a good goalkeeper.
Look at Andy Dibble in that 2003 season. Not mobile. He's an old man by then.
Yeah.
But his reading of the game meant he didn't have to be bouncing around all over the place because he could anticipate.
Yeah.
Whereas, or Di Davis, when he came out of retirement to play for Wrexham, because Dixie desperately needed the goalkeeper, he hadn't played for a couple of years and his mobility was not great. But he read the game and he organised his defence. And Miabi was the opposite, he was like agility and
doing your crazy saves that not many people could do. That's what Miabi was about. Maxwell's a very good reader of the game, wasn't he? But as you said, the best goalkeeper in the conference era. Anyway, we've had a big one thing we haven't mentioned.
That's Aldershot.
That's Aldershot. One thing we haven't mentioned is Sam Dalby's last minute goal. What a header! amazing.
Every time we talk about Sam Dolby, I think I've got to work out his goals per minute, and you always forget. I mean, that guy's potent.
Yeah, he's really making a case to be on the starting 11 at this moment in time, isn't he?
I never thought I would be saying that myself, but then you said it, so I haven't yet.
Yeah.
But Mullen and Palmer are so fixed, and should be. Don't get me wrong, but Dolby's form is magnificent. What a signing! He got a hell of a record for Parkinson.
And I also think Palmer needs a little bit of a break, maybe, because he's played a hell of a lot of football, and I feel like he's lost that yard of explosiveness that he had last season. Personally,
and he's been carrying an injury. He's still done well, I think, considering. But Dolby, like you say, is pushing for the start, and fair play to him.
And I think Palmer was underrated. He had an underratedly really good performance on Saturday. I think he held the ball up well, but I do think he needs a little bit of a rest. Anyway, that's for future podcasting.
Indeed.
After this, we'll
talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
Why not?
I'm Harry Lennon, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, we didn't have the opportunity to actually report on the Scunthorpe game in this episode of Dragonheart. Of course, the Hot Take and Final Whistle podcast are available on the club's platforms if you want to watch or listen to those. But as a little treat, here are the main points of the match.
I'm Liam McClendon, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, our half-time guests have arrived, I'm excited to say, because Mark Woodley is here, and I'll just hit his mic so he can pop it on safely. Do you want to chat to them, Chay? Do you want to do the interview? Are you happy with that? Okie dokie. Well, hi Mark, and Jim's got his headphones on before I could quickly say that I've forgotten Jim's second name, which is disgusting, isn't it? And he's not going to tell me either.
Huh?
You're not going to tell me either.
It's Nelson.
Excellent, right. So now you guys, you've got to tell us the story. You've come over from Waterloo, Iowa.
Waterloo, Iowa, which Fahrenheit is about 60 degrees colder than here right now, by the way.
And that's partly how you made your reputation, of course, Mark.
Right,
we'll get to that in a moment, perhaps.
A little bit, yeah. But, we fell in love with the story, with the town, the show, with everything. And I was a student at Trinity College in Carmarthen, Wales, 25 years ago, so I already had the connection to the country. I love this place, and the best thing about this whole thing is that I don't have to explain to people where Wales is anymore. Everybody knows now. They know where Wales is, and that wasn't a thing. And that Wales is not England.
Yeah, exactly. It's, at last, everyone's worked that out. Thank goodness. And I mean, Mark, you're a sports anchor on the TV station. You're drawn in by the show.
Yes.
And yet, explain why you're actually here as well.
Well, like I said, we were drawn in by the show. We decided we had about a week off. This is our busiest time of year, but we had a week off between our two biggest tournaments of the season. So we decided we were going to do something with it. We were going to come here. And, I figured if I'm going to come here, I'm a sports reporter. I'm going to do a story about this because the whole thing is amazing. I talked to you. I talked to Wayne Jones over at the Turf. I've talked to several fans, and it's been just a fantastic. We got here last night, and the last 24 hours have been amazing.
Absolutely.
Truly amazing.
And Jim as well, we looked around the ground this morning as well, and I could see you were really enjoying just having a look at it and the strange little quirks that you get in an ancient football or sports stadium like this.
I love the history about it. That was fascinating, just to be able to walk through the entire race course and to see the locker rooms, to see all the different areas of the stadium. I'm fascinated by that stuff, and that's going to be part of the report when we get back home. And it was just amazing to be able to walk and just know the history that's flowed through this stadium.
And we've all seen it on TV, and just to be here right now, just looking at this field, this gorgeous pitch out there, it's absolutely brilliant.
I've got to ask you as well, like you say, the Malcolm's Reaction Show does a great job of getting atmosphere across. Having seen half a game now, what do you think? Is it measuring up to the show, or?
It is exceeding all expectations I had. We're behind the goal over here. The crowd back there is just fantastic. They're saying a few things that I can't say over the air.
Oh, quite.
But it has been so much fun.
And it's good as well to hear that, because we've been saying up here that it all feels a bit anxious and not quite like usual. So hopefully in the second half we can get going and give you a proper, real Wrexham roar. You know?
Well, that's what we're hoping. They're just waiting to score all the goals in front of us. You know.
Yeah, precisely.
So we have a really up and close and person. You know.
I have to ask as well that, because this is something that I know a lot of people here are genuinely fascinated with, how much of an impact, and I think you've given us a taste of it already, has the show had in the States? Is this something which is genuinely high profile? Because we're always delighted when we see someone's in New York and there's a cab with an advert for the show on top. How deep has this gone, would you say?
It's gone incredibly deep. I mean, think of the number of Twitter followers Ryan Reynolds has. Rob doesn't have quite as many. I think that was pointed out several times in the show. But, he's such a high-profile person. Bringing him into this scene in Wrexham, it just made a huge impact. Everybody knows who Wrexham is now. Nobody knew who Wrexham was, 7 months ago. But there are so many people in the States who know this show. And like you said, they did such a great job in portraying everything. We saw so many people from the show at the Turf tonight, and you feel like you know all of them.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't know you, but you talk to them like you know them, and they're just looking at you like, hey, how's it going? No, but they have all been really fantastic.
Yeah.
We've talked to several people from the show, and everybody has been so gracious. Some of them might be a little bit over the fame a little bit, but they don't show it. They don't show it, and everybody's been so friendly.
I think the big thing about how popular the show has been and how popular Wrexham is now is last night at the Turf there was more Americans than there was Welsh people.
Yes.
We ran into people from all over the States when we were in the Turf last night. It was quite incredible.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Wayne was telling me he had a group over there from Malaysia not that long ago.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre, really, and so surreal, and it's been so much fun.
It's wonderful to hear. Jim's just having the privilege now of having to make way for Wayne Phillips, who's played against Arsenal when we beat them, and then ahead of him, ex-Welsh captain Kevin Ratcliffe, who was a captain of the very strong Wales team in the 80s, and Everton when Everton were a good team. So it's quite fun, the people you bump into around here.
This is press row right here. I'm used to this. This is great.
Yeah, we're amongst football royalty, though. This is great.
It's great. Yeah, well, absolutely. It's always nice. You get Mickey Thomas, who scored the famous goal against Arsenal, often up here as well. What a lovely bloke and what a character. So it is great fun.
And I want to point out to everybody listening, I called it football, right? I didn't say soccer.
Fair play. I always argue that soccer is the original English word for it, and when British people get sniffy, that maybe we should take a good hard look at ourselves.
Yeah. I've been trying to stay away from it.
Yeah, I think that's probably wise, because I don't, and I get told off. Funnily enough, people don't really want much etymology in their football commentary. It's a quite peculiar thing. I also showed you the excitement of the building site. But even now, when I was so proud. That was the best part of my tour, was taking you up 6 flights of steps in order for you to look over a wall at nothing.
At nothing.
I thought that was me being a perfect
You told us
host.
there might be something there, some tank traps.
Yes.
There were no tank traps there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I even promised something and delivered nothing. But that sense of something's building, quite literally, that sense when you look at that big empty space over there, you get the feeling, don't you? It's exciting how things are building up and developing.
It really is, and I'm actually a little bit disappointed. I wish I was here a couple of months ago just to see the condemned cop that was just sitting there, because I've never seen it, and I never will now because it's gone, but it is so exciting to see what's coming.
Absolutely. Keep your eyes on the British news, because condemned cops seem to be pretty much what we're going to be having on the news over the next 6 months or so, I assure you, with the C. I know as well you're interested in the impact on the town as a community, in the way that this club and this takeover is doing more than just getting results on the pitch, and I hope that's come across to you as well.
Everywhere we went, we've had great conversations with the local people, and it's just been awesome. They've been so welcoming, and we had conversations about what this revitalization of Wrexham has done to the city as well. And that's been fantastic. That's been a real part of the excitement for us of being here.
Well, and everybody talking about, when it happened during COVID and the economic impact COVID had on everybody, not just Wrexham. But having something like this happening during such a horrible time, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is.
And it's also, I think, were it not for COVID, streaming would not have been accelerated, and that actually allowed, ironically, played into the hands of our business model in that, you know, eventually we did get streaming on a more regular basis. And I think it's fair to say that the fact that we stream is fantastic in terms of the way we're trying to, again, you know, preach to North American audiences. To be able to see the games is fantastic.
That's true, but it almost put me in a really foul mood on Saturday when that equalizer made that game 3-3.
Oh, yeah.
And I was telling him, like, great, we're going to go to Wrexham. They're going to be coming off 2 straight draws. It's going to be the worst stretch of the year. And then Sam Dalby off that corner comes up with that goal, and
what a hero.
That just made my day. That made my day. It's like, all right, now we're going to Wrexham on a high.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wow. I think because you are actually behind the goal now in the crowd, I feel like I should probably let you run back, so I don't want you to miss anything, to be honest with you.
I definitely do not. I want to see about 3 or 4 Paul Mullen goals right into that net in the second half.
I sincerely could talk to you all night, but I think it's only fair that you get a chance to actually enjoy the second half properly without sprinting down the sides of the pitch and getting rugby tackled by stewards. So can I just say again, it's a genuine privilege to meet you. It is so fantastic, and it's wonderful to see just the effect the show's had and how people can get hooked into this story. It's a for someone who's followed Wrexham all their life, whose dad followed Wrexham all their life, whose granddad did. I feel honoured that this is all happening.
And I love hearing those stories.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you, Mark.
It's been a pleasure, but like I said, genuinely, I don't want to miss anything. So make your way back, and let's hope that Paul delivers for you.
That's our hope.
That's right.
Nice one.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much.
Brilliant. Thank you. So fantastic that. So Mark and Jen, really, I mean, absolute honour to have them at the racecourse. Absolute honour to see this club growing and developing in such a wonderful way. So that was fun. That was.
I'm Jake Hyde, and this is Dragonheart.
Me again. Let's have a listen now to Mark Woodley and Jim Nelson, who, as I mentioned earlier, had travelled over from Iowa to make a report on the remarkable story of what's going on in Wrexham, and also to take in the Scunthorpe game. And we were fortunate enough to chat to them during half-time. So here is what they had to say for themselves.
His toes are creaming the ball. Lovely ball. Again, Ozana takes it nicely. Tries to beat his man. Leaked as well again. He gets a tackle in. Pops a little give and go to Elliott, who has to go backwards. And feeds it back to Richards Everton. He drills it up to the halfway line inaccurately, and Wrexham come forwards again. Flicked on by Young. Was he fouled? Ref doesn't give it. Young's back up on his feet, fighting to win it back. The ball, though, is poked on. And this is a chance for Scunthorpe to break. A long ball hoisted forwards and missed by McAlinden. That's poor. Shot driven in. Great save by Leighton. The rebound from Elliott is fumbled by Leighton, but he grabs it. It was about to cross the line. Wow. Well, there's a poor error by McAlinden, it's got to be said.
Leighton's not happy with him, is he?
He shouldn't be, to be perfectly frank. And Wilson was then super hit by him. Great save by Leighton.
It's just not quite clicking yet, are we?
Not quite, no. The space Hosanna's getting, though, and the fact that they haven't adjusted to stop that happening, I've got to be honest, does surprise me. Throw in then, which McAlinden's pushing it back. Clearly, Linesman doesn't help out the referee there. Wilson's now running at Tunnicliffe on the diagonal. Wrexham get back cover well, and McAlinden wins it back well, stabs it, but Mullen's miles offside. Palmer will chase it. Keeper will have to come out of the box to deal with it. And clears it to Young. The fans wanted to shoot. The keeper's off his line. Young hits it over him. Has he got the bonnet? What an effort! What an effort that was! Brilliant from Luke Young. Oh my word! Inches lower, and that would have been a goal. And the applause ringing out around the crowd. Wow, that was brilliant from the skipper, wasn't it?
Oh, what an attempt that was. If that would have gone in, that would have been some magical goal. That would have been.
2 inches lower, and that would have been in the back of the net, guys.
So Ogle now ready to sling one in. Leighton directing his defenders. A long, flat one is a good one. Drops loose in the box, and Leighton grabs hold of it. Luckily for Wrexham, Boyce couldn't take hold of it. And Leighton with an early kick looking for Mullen. It's headed away, though, by Leake. in midfield. Lee gets up, heads it to Mullen, who's done well to get back on side, juggles it, and plays a lovely ball. McAlinden, right hand side, has two players attacking the box, sets himself, swings it in for Mullen. Penalty. It's got to be, penalty. Well, immediately James Jones goes to shake McAlinden's hand. That was a magnificent ball by McAlinden.
Great ball in.
The defender had to go for it. Mullen did brilliantly to get there first and nick it past him, and the contact was inevitable, but Mullen has stayed down because he'd been taking the penalty.
He's all right.
He's sitting up now. Neil, using all those years of medical training, is
well, no,
diagnosing him from 50 yards.
The ref's not called on medical assistance, is he? So
but interesting to see Elliot Lees pick the ball up as he's saying to Mullen, if you're hurt, I'll take it. Well, that didn't last long because Mullen is up and he's taking the ball from him. I think, to be fair, Lee patted him on the back of the head. I don't think he was offering, or at least he was tentatively asking.
That was a stonewall penalty as well.
Yeah. I mean, there was no complaints, was there, from Scunthorpe at all. So here's Mullen with a chance from the spot. Referee gives the blast of his whistle. Mullen, short, straight, run up. Steps up. Scores! Wrexham take the lead in the 24th minute. Mullen has equalled the amount of goals he scored last season. Wow. He was a phenomenon last season, but he's got there by February this time. Wow. Not bad.
That's a striker who shouldn't be playing at this level.
You said it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, he just stepped up, keeper committed to his right, he drilled it. Anyway, now he can take it. Sweeps it beyond the crowd. That's lovely. It splashed miles over the bar. But Young will keep it in. That was a hell of a mishit. McAlinden works it to Young in a crossing position, and he sweeps a great ball in. Ricochets wide.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tozer couldn't get his head to that.
It was a difficult header. I said free header. He did lose his man, but he just couldn't get contact on it properly. Throw in taken. Jones impetuous has turned well and has worked square by Beeston. Shot from distance. Hits the post and ricochets back into the goal mouth. It's driven back in again. Elliott, can he get the turn in? He lays it off. Chance for a shot, but Wrexham are crowding the ball. It's moved back to the corner of the box. Cross comes in. Toes ahead to clear. Now can Wrexham break? Excellent use of the body by Mullen. Turns his man 2-on-2. Defenders trying to nibble at him. Mullen feeds it for Palmer and overhits it. Palmer will keep chasing though. Good spirits. He's good in those positions, Palmer. He makes it difficult to get the ball away. He wins a throw in. But what a lucky escape for Wrexham at the other end.
Rode our luck then, didn't we, guys?
It was a hell of a good strike. Leighton full stretch, couldn't get the touch. Flicked onto the halfway line. Palmer, good strength, battles, nods it backwards. Lovely touch by Lee. Finds Mendy on the halfway line. Tries to poke it through for Mullen, but it's intercepted. The pass wasn't really on. He needs to just go backwards and keep the ball there. Young, good tackle. Mendy, that's a cute little header to Mullen. It's all very scrappy in the middle of the pitch. Lee now goes accelerating forward. Lovely ball. Palmer, great flick on. Mendy gets around the back of the fence. Will he hit it? He does. It was a very tight angle. It was a super move. And he drove it across the face and behind for the goal kick.
Should have squared this. Jones would have an easy tap in.
Yeah, Jones, and is it McAlinden was coming in on the back post as well, just couldn't get to it.
Which ricocheted loose, and it's going to be picked up on the edge. Laid back shot comes in, blocked well, and falls to Lee. Now can Lee accelerate forwards? He's done really well. He's not got much ahead of him, but he has now. He's found Mullen up in the box. He's got players either side. Brilliant turn. He pokes it to Young. Dreadful touch by Young. He'll keep it in, but a proper touch and he was in on goal.
He was just too far ahead of him, Mark.
Lays it into Mendy. Back to Young, level the edge of the area. Mendy goes to overlap. Young feeds it inside. Jordan Davis intercepts. Left foot. Drills the shot. Keeper drops it. And it looks like a penalty. It is a penalty. The keeper drops it. Mullen was in there. The keeper took his legs. And Wrexham have a penalty in the 81st minute because Jordan Davis, the Quay assassin, pulled the trigger.
He did. Keeper couldn't hold it.
I feel for keeper in that position there. That's a hard shot to deal with, isn't it? Bouncing right in front of you. He's only a young keeper. Another obvious penalty.
I'd have held it. Just saying. So, the fans loving Jordan Davis's contribution.
Well, it's something we're not doing a lot of, is having shots from outside the area, you know. Anything can happen.
It was a good 25 yards out, really powerful, efforted shot. Straight at the keeper for me. He didn't hold on to it, came off his chest. Mullen was really alert, keeper took his legs. And now Mullen stands on the ball as the ball is on the spot. And waits for the referee to complete his formalities. Gives the go-ahead. Mullen stands on the edge of the box. He'll take it when he's ready. Steps up. Right fuzzy! 2-0! 2 for Mullen. And Wrexham have got that breathing space that they desperately need. Keeper went the right way that time, but Mullen drilled it. And the keeper couldn't get to it.
No keeper would have saved that, Mark, would they?
No.
The pace he puts on his penalties, you know, he keeps them low. And there's so much power behind it.
Yeah. Unstoppable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I would have held it.
You'd been in the back of the net with it.
No, he drilled that, didn't he? Real power. The keeper went the right way. Got close, but yeah. Great strike by Mullen. Leak turning and playing a dangerous ball straight to Dolby on the edge of the D. He's back to goal, so he has to turn. He finds James Jones on the right. 4 bodies in the box to aim for. Clips it in, wins a corner. And the flag's up for
throw. Handball.
I think. So free kick on the corner of the
should
box.
be a yellow card as well.
That was in the box, wasn't it?
The ref's given it about a yard outside, so the monitor's way back. Okay, now we're there.
The linesman spotted it. I didn't see it.
Yeah. So, strange one.
Jordan Davis is going for goal, guys.
Do you reckon? It's
yeah, he is.
10 yards out, right-hand side, just outside the box.
If he got this in...
He's going for a curler.
2-man wall.
Oh, come on.
Big crowd of players at the far post, 6 yards out. Ooh, yeah. It's close, that. Whether he's in the box or not. Looking at the replay, it's certainly closer than where the free kick's been taken. Davis steps up, squares to the edge, Lee in space, drills it, it blocked, ricochets back out, Lee can't get to it.
Bit of anticlimax.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? So, Cleworth knocks it against Elliott, but it'll go back to the keeper safely enough. Nice. We've seen a replay now. As there's the final whistle. Wrexham win 2-0 and keep the pressure on at the top of the table.
Penalty that.
Just seeing the replay, that's a penalty. Yeah. Definite penalty.
Yeah, it's a penalty, yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Dominic Vose and this is Dragonheart.
So there you go. This was Dragonheart. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll be back again same time next week on Calon FM in order to share the show again. Let's see how Wrexham do as another of these congested weeks goes by, and also how the women's team do at Connah's Quay Nomads. Good luck to all of them. I'm Mark Griffiths. I'm standing in for Chay. This is Dragonheart.
I'm Dan Jarvis and this is Dragonheart.